All right, happy Tuesday, everyone out there. Today, I want to discuss our most recent boot camp skill and certifications. And so, while the government was shut down for 43 days, we were able to bring up here 8 legends that were quietly stacking wins, contracts. And so, over the next 30 to 40 minutes, I want to share with you some of the insights from that boot camp, tell you what you missed, and also tell you what's next, right? Now that the government's reopened again, what are people doing now? So thank you for joining us tonight. And I want to kind of get right into it because we had a great 2 day sessions just a few weeks ago. And so some of the guest speakers that we brought up, I'll just kind of share my screen really quick. So Carrie Ann, she sits on the board of SAME, the Society of American Military Engineers, which is the group that specifically works with construction companies. So if you're not familiar, if you're in construction or if you're in any type of trades contractor, Carrie Ann is executive vice president of SAME. They just had their major conference that finished off the year just last week. And so she came on and discussed about proposal writing. And I'm going to play a clip for you guys. I hope that you can hear it. So let me know if you can't hear it. I'm going to just roll this clip. All right. So on that note, oh, you couldn't hear it. Okay. Got you. Thank you. So you couldn't hear that video, but you can hear me. So you couldn't hear the video. You heard me, but you couldn't hear the video. Okay. No sound in the video. Okay. So let me see. Yes. Okay, great. All right. Well, um, it told me that StreamYard would let me stream the video to sound, so I'm not sure why you couldn't hear the sound on the StreamYard. But essentially, what Carrie Ann said in that call, I'll just kind of recap it. What she said was that she does 300 proposals a year. She's got an 80% win rate this year, 75% win rate over the 5 years. But the way that she has such a high win rate is because the small businesses and the largest that she works for does a lot of the BD and capture beforehand. So they're out meeting the customers, understanding the problems, and then it makes it easy for her to write all that into a proposal that then gets submitted. So that's essentially what she discussed, was how she has such a high success rate in winning contracts and winning proposals is because the information that went in there came from the relationships that was created by the companies that hired her to write their proposals. And so that's essentially what she said. I hate that you guys can't hear this. I don't know how to fix that problem, because I did want to have a lot of clips that I want to share with you, and I thought that you would be able to hear them. Let me see. Okay, mute my mic. Huh. Okay, it says I could do it on here. Interesting. All right. Well, listen, what I'll do, I'll just improvise. So I'll just tell you the stories rather than let you hear them because I don't know how to fix this setting. Um, so I'll just kind of go through and I'll just talk through each of the stories and kind of tell you the themes behind all the different speakers. You said refresh the video. The video's playing. You can't hear this? I hear it. No. No sound. Yeah, I can hear it on my side. I can hear it on my side. No, no one can hear it. Great. Well, that's not good. It told me I could do it. Let me see. Check my audio settings. Speaker. Uh, I don't know. I don't know how to fix it. So I won't waste everybody's time. I'll go through. So ultimately, I'll just kind of tell you the stories behind each speaker and then the themes for everyone to know. So Cecil came on, and some of you have seen a clip that we've done recently. But ultimately, Cecil is the person that I learned from. So his company was the company that mentored me, that taught me everything I know about government contracting, the 8A program, the not Cecil particularly himself, but his company was the benchmark for 8A companies in the country at that time. And so he goes into the story about him acquiring this small business and then scaling them through the 8A program and then getting kicked out of the 8A program in only 6 years. And then what he did in order to do that. And so he goes on to tell that story about how he grew that company, how he scaled the company, and the things that it took to do it. And so ultimately, when we talk about, you guys have heard me mention before that only 5% of contracts are on SAM.gov and 50% of the contracts are IDIQs contracts that are given through task orders. So that's the mechanism by which he used to acquire $16 billion in IDIQ work that allow him to graduate his 8A company in 6 years, but also it allowed him to then sell that company to a much larger organization beyond the life of the business. And so he tells that story about what it took to do that, and then allow people in the class to then turn around and ask questions. So that's something that you'll see us talking about. By the way, just for anyone out here who's wondering, or anybody who was in the boot camp, we have now all of the replays are inside under boot camp replays. So anyone who's in Federal Help Center who missed it, you could go in and see all the replays are now in here. So they have been uploaded. So if you guys missed any of those sessions, you come in and look at all of the replays. So I just want to kind of share that with those of you who might have missed any of the sections. So then we brought Olga up. For a lot of you who don't know, Olga is one of the top 10 women now in entrepreneurship on LinkedIn. She comes in and she's talking about strategy through growth through LinkedIn. In fact, what's fascinating about Olga, her and I have been having more and more conversations recently about growth strategies, leveraging LinkedIn. And I can tell you that every day now, Olga's calling me with some person who worked for some major organization. They might have been on TV before, and they have a presence on one platform. They're looking for a presence on another platform, and they're looking for business opportunities. And so what we found is not just in what you do or sell, but by growing your brand, people automatically trust you as an expert, and they automatically will want to work with you and do business with you. And so we discussed in that particular session how to build your brand through LinkedIn. And so you guys will keep hearing me harping on this, but ultimately what we did was we went through, looked at people's LinkedIn, gave them suggestions, gave them recommendations, told them kind of what they should be putting inside of the AI learning models, putting in there, fixing your headers, fixing all those things so that you can start to have what we call warm leads instead of cold leads. All right. So it's interesting about this conversation with Brandon. I really wish you guys could hear it. But basically, what Brandon discussed was that he's been doing cold email outreach. And so for those of you who don't know, cold email outreach is when we essentially we go in and we grab emails from people that are doing government contracts, and then we send them emails to discuss, hey, can we meet with you to talk about business opportunities? And so Brandon has built up a cold email outreach campaign where he's got this 4 email sequence that he sends out. And ultimately, he's sending out thousands of emails a day. And over the last several months, he's had 472 meetings with business owners that are government contractors that are certified, that are looking for teaming and partnerships and opportunities. So this is a strategy that we've been doing to drum up business for ourselves, but also drum up future partner opportunities. And Brandon goes over that strategy of what he did and how he's been able to do that. But what's fascinating about what he discussed was that in his experiences of talking to over 472 businesses, 56% of them that are certified said that they don't even know how to use SAM.gov. 56%. So I thought that was fascinating because that is probably half of you guys here, right? Like probably half of you here fall into that category of the 56%. So what does that tell me? That creates an incredible opportunity for us, right? When we're thinking about potential partners, that where we see that the companies may be smart or they may have this great technical expertise, they don't even know how to do some of the basic things. And that's why I've always been a big fan of consulting as a business model, because you get the opportunity to leverage someone else's expertise, their business skills, their business acumen, right? Their past history, and take that to the government because you understand how to use SAM.gov. Like the stuff that you take for granted, people don't know how to do that. And I want to always kind of remind folks of this because I think we forget that, or we don't think or value some of the skills that we've learned or we've obtained, and we think that they're minor. But when you look at the data and you say, wow, these people are certified, but they don't even know how to use the programs. So a lot of times I want us that's watching, like the 20 something people here watching now, I want you to understand that you do have a competitive advantage, and you also have a valuable skill set. As minor as it may seem to you, it is major to someone else. And so I want us to, because I hear it. I hear it in the people in the community. They always are like self-doubt about, Eric, my information, my knowledge is not valuable. What do I have to offer? What do I have to bring to the table? And when you look at the data, it says 56% of people certified don't even know how to use SAM. You've got a lot to bring to the table. A lot of people just get registered because someone told them to. They never learn how to do this business. I've been saying that for 5 years. I've been saying that for I'm tired. I've been saying that for 7 years now. People don't know this business. If you're watching me and you're learning from me, you know more than 99% of people. They don't learn the business. They don't take the time to understand it. They think that if they get registered, they're going to get contracts because they're good. They're good at what they do. That is not the procurement process, unfortunately, with the U.S. government. Just being good is not sufficient with working with the U.S. government. That doesn't fly. So the best company in the world could go get registered in SAM and could get no contracts because no one on their team actually knows how to do that. That's what makes Carahsoft so valuable. Carahsoft basically goes out and registers on all these different platforms, and then they work with the major companies to be distributors and reps of their products because the major brands don't want to get registered in every single stupid platform on every single vehicle. So Carahsoft goes out, registers themselves on all these different platforms and vehicles, and then they become the middleman essentially for the major brands like Microsoft, Juniper Networks, Cisco, and all this other stuff. So you'll see that out here a lot. But I think for us that's on this call today, I want you to leave with, you have more value than you think, you've got more knowledge than you think, you've got more to bring to the table and offer someone than you think, regardless of their revenue size. And that's what I want people to take away from this particular call. So Mr. Travis Mack, and I hate that I can't play these videos, right? I really hate that I can't play these videos. So in this particular, when we talked with Mr. Travis Mack, so, he said a lot of great nuggets. One, the first thing that he talked about is he's now a $185 million company with 1,200 employees. But when I met him, he was less than $100 million a few years ago. And so people talked about what he would do if he started again. They asked questions like, where's he headed? And when you look at it, he's doing a two-pronged approach, right? So he's growing within the Department of Defense, but then he has a roll-up strategy where he's actively acquiring businesses. So one of the things that what's interesting about him is that I've been pushing him to do social media for a long time, helped him build out his strategy and his brand on LinkedIn. And so part of his last two acquisitions that he acquired, one of them actually, part of the decision for him to acquire them came from them watching a video with me and him from their LinkedIn that we did and deciding that he was a good company to acquire their business. So these are things that you may think are minor in nature, but they could be the difference between someone wanting to do business with you, someone wanting to sell to you, someone wanting to team with you. But the other things that he discussed was the three areas of business that he focuses on: the execution, the strategy, the people he gets to work with. Those are all things that I think a lot of times we as small businesses, we forget about. These are things that are within our control, right? So what is the strategy, right? Where is it that you're going? What is it that you want to do with your business? Who are the people that you want to work with? I find that, and it's interesting, as I talk to some of you guys offline, I tell people, they say, Eric, you work a lot. And I said, yeah, but when you're working with people that you want to work with, that you choose to work with, it doesn't feel like work. So when you're working with people that, again, that you like, Cecils and the Travises of the world, when you work with those kind of people, then it doesn't feel like work. There's Carahsoft right there, Vanessa. And so for me, yes, people may say I'm working all the time, but if you were on any of those calls with me and you're on the calls with like Cecil and I, you'll see that Cecil and I been to Spain together. I'm sorry, France, Costa Rica, Dominican Republic, Colombia, Alaska, and then countless places in the United States where we go to dinner with people that we enjoy. He goes hunting, fishing. We go do activities. So we are forming relationships through doing activities that we all enjoy in places that we enjoy. I'll give you another example. I'll go back to Olga here. So Olga and I, she's got a new client she's working with, and we're talking about doing a strategy session with them. And so for me, because I'm here now physically in Colombia for the holidays, I suggested to her, how about we do the strategy session in Colombia? And because the person that we're working with, their spouse is Colombian, the woman, everyone's Latin. So she's like, yeah, let me propose that to them. So when you have the opportunity to be able to propose to do a strategy session in another country, in a villa, I don't know how people can deem that as work. I'm not in the factory floor, sweaty, getting dirty, right? So again, going back to Travis, one of the things that I really appreciate about what he talked in his classes were having the choice to choose who you work with, the people. And I think that's such an important thing. All of us have the decision. We can work with people or we can decide not to work with people. So I'll give you another example. So Jolie, he came in and he talked about his most recent wins during the shutdown. So Jolie does professional services. He's got employees placed at different places throughout the government. He just picked up 2 new full-time hires for the Department of Justice contract. Him and I spoke this past week, and he talked about Leidos has 5 new opportunities that are looking to place people. But because of the type of contract it is, it may not be a good fit for his business. So again, a lot of times you may go into something saying, well, Eric, Leidos got 5 employees. I could put 5 full-time people under this contract. Sure. But if it's not a good fit for your company or it doesn't make sense for you, then it could be more headache than it's worth it. And so again, going back to making a decision of who you want to work with. And I think that for me, it stood out with Travis. A lot of times, I don't even think as small businesses, we even think about strategy. Do you guys even think about like your strategy? Or do you just show up and say, well, I'm just going to, try everything and see what happens? Like, so does the people listening to this call, or do you guys even have a strategy, right? Because that's the first thing that we've got to get with. So again, strategy. And then what the strategy is, then people, right? The people you have in place. Going back, when you start networking and you start going places and you start talking to people, you get more optionality. So you have more options for the type of folks you want to work with. Everyone that I bring up here, right? These are people that I chose, that I invited to be up here. They also accepted to be here with me. So they chose to work with me. I chose to work with them and vice versa. If I don't have a pleasant experience, then I choose not to work with them any longer. So for me, I keep saying this because I think this is super important, and it led Travis to obviously be to where he's at, his success at 1,200 employees. The other thing that he talked about, a couple things. One, here, he says, if you're not using AI aggressively, he thinks that your company would be dead in the next 24 months. The other thing he discussed was essentially, which people don't like to hear it, but he says, you will starve for 5 years. I don't think any of us want to think about the idea of starving for 5 years, but because I know him personally and we have a relationship, I had him tell the story about a time where he had to give his employees a 50% pay cut. And so what happened was he was at $20 million in revenue. 20 million. So he's at $20 million in revenue, and he had to give everyone in the company had to take a 50% pay cut because of the contracts and things that had not hit and had landed. And that lasted for, I think, 6-7 months. But, he said he gave right a chance. If they had walked out, it would have destroyed the company. But they stayed with him. I think one person left, and then he was able to pull through 7 months later and get right back on track. So this was at $20 million in revenue. Most of us on here, we've never even dreamed about hitting 20 million in revenue. And we think that when you hit 10 million or 15 million or 20 million revenue, you're out of the weeds. You think you're out, like you've already, hey, I'm at $20 million. Nothing bad can happen to me. That's not true. And clearly this example was like, yeah, even at $20 million, because of a situation with contracts and cash flow issues, he had to give everybody a pay cut. Those are hard decisions. So that was some of the things that Travis talked about. Again, 20 employees, 50% pay cuts, starving for the first 5 years. And then, essentially what he would do if he started over again, he talked about that. So Shauna, what I liked about Shauna, let me pull it up. There you go. I'll pull it up on the screen. So Shauna, former contracting officer, and she came on to talk about the new rule changes, right? What's happening with GSA, what's happening with the FAR. She came on to discuss all the new rule changes and how that's impacting small businesses. Very fascinating stuff because even for myself, right, I have a hard time keeping up with all these new changes and everything that's going on. But she discussed GSA, which is, I know a lot of us, we're hearing about what's happening with GSA, but also with the FAR and a lot of the interesting revelations. So she went through different parts of that. She talked about the rule of two. How many people know the rule of two? Has anybody, you guys all know the rule of two, what the rule of two is? Yes, no? Thumbs up? Yes, no? So she talked about the rule of two. And so the rule of two basically says, for those of you who are not aware of the rule of two, yep. So all of my students definitely know the rule of two. So the rule of two says that when the government is looking for putting out requirements, they're going to first see if there is in fact two or more small businesses that can meet those requirements. If there's not two or more small businesses, then they'll put it out unrestricted. But however, if there's two or more small businesses that can do the requirements, then they will make that a small business set aside. So this is how we get small business set asides. A lot of people don't know this. This is exactly how you get small business set aside. So they were concerned that under this administration, they might be eliminating that rule of two. And so they did not eliminate it. But ultimately, part of our responsibility as small business owners is we're supposed to be helping the government do market research so that they can make more opportunities for small businesses. If we don't do that, then the onus is on us why there's not enough small business opportunities out there. So if we are not helping the government, right, by responding to market research, by participating in industry days, letting them know that we have capabilities and competency, then we are just as much as at fault for why there's not that many small business opportunities out there. So that's what the rule of two is. And again, these are things that you have to learn, because when you're asking yourself, why do I not see opportunities for small businesses? Because we did not show up and we did not respond and let them know we're available. And so when the government did its research, it goes, we don't see any small businesses that can do this facilities contract. So we're just going to make it open to large businesses. And then you're like, that's not fair. Well, it is fair when you understand the rules, right? And so Shauna, what she helped go through today was, talking about the rules and what the rules say. So she talked about BPA contracts. Does anybody know about here what BPA contracts are, right? She talked about late quotes being allowed now and opportunities. The sole source process change, on-ramps and off-ramps, right? So one of the major things she discussed here, which I like, was, again, when we look at the contract landscape and we look at, here, I'll show you I'll pull it back up here so you guys can see it. So when we look at the contract landscape here and we see the 50% of the task orders, that falls under IDIQ contracts. So when we look at that under the IDIQ contracts, those task orders, right, that is the work. When we go back over here, a lot of times what has been happening in the past was like you said, all of us are new, right? There's 35 people watching this. And let's say most of us are new. We haven't been getting contracts. So some of those IDIQs, they've been awarded. They're not going to finish until 25, 26, 27. I'm talking about years, 2029, 2030, 2033. So we missed the boat. But now under the new rules and regulations, they're going to be allowing more chances for us newbies to get on to some of those long-term contracts. And because that represents 50% of all the opportunities, that creates more opportunities for us, right? So we discussed that. But I mean, can you guys see why this is important? Like, like, can everyone watching this understand why we do this? So it's not just enough to talk about go out and win a contract. Like, this stuff is super important because if this is going to be your livelihood, I personally think you should be spending as much time investing and learning and understanding it as humanly possible. That's just me, right? So I'm now giving everyone access to my Rolodex of people so that we could just disseminate this information one way instead of them giving it to me and then me giving it to you. So that was what we tried to accomplish with this particular boot camp was like, hey, Shauna, you tell them this. So again, on the bottom of the screen, you'll see on there the simplified acquisition threshold, the micro purchase threshold, the procedures, how they work. I mean, this is what I hear when I hear all the small businesses talk about. They're like, hey, I want to do micro purchases. Okay, well, how do you do them? Where do you go to learn this stuff? So again, discussing micro purchase thresholds, right? Simplified acquisition threshold. Discussing now some of the action steps to take, right? Checking for agency deviations, tuning up your no bid criteria, market beat and focus outcome. So we went through some of those things as well. And then, pulling up some of my last couple of speakers. So Julian, he came on, and there were several. I mean, there's a lot of takeaways in this particular session, right? But one of the things that we discussed was, how do you take contracts away from some of the larger businesses? I shared some opportunities of people that I know of that did very simple things. So in this talk, there's a couple things that came up, a couple themes. One was, again, small businesses have advantages. I'm going to say this again. Small businesses have advantages. You just don't see them that way, right? So in this particular conversation, we discussed how a smaller company was able to take a contract from a large business. And the reason why they were able to do that was because the large business did not answer the phone on the weekends. And the small businesses did. And so the government took that contract from a large and gave it to a small because they wanted someone that was responsive over the weekend. And so just reframing how you see yourself, how you perceive yourself, you do have advantages that because large businesses are so structured, and they're like these ships that are like a whole cruise ship that's sailing along, and you're more like a little tugboat that can turn around or turn to the left and right. That cruise ship can't just turn around on the stop of a dime. You have, as being a little tugboat, right, or a speedboat, you have the flexibility to go left, to go right, to go up, to go down, to go back, to like change directions before that ship can even turn any direction. Like that ship is gonna have to go out miles and miles and miles and miles to try to turn around, or before it can even stop, like to even slow down to come to a stop, to try to go back. You could have already been back to the land, captured the opportunity, and got back in the boat and drove back out there to meet the ship. So we discuss this because a lot of times we see ourselves as small, disadvantaged. And I hate that because we are actually not disadvantaged. We're actually advantaged, but a lot of times we don't see that. The other thing that we went over was CDFIs. And so under the CDFIs, I start talking about how people can, Julian brought up, and Travis, same thing, non-traditional financing. So I brought up CDFIs and great as a place for business owners to start looking for opportunities. And so how many people here heard of CDFIs before? Probably not a lot of people. So I'll share this video in the chat. but this is the video that we basically recommend everybody go back and watch. And we discussed CDFIs, community development financial institutions, and what they are is if you're trying to, when you're first starting out, and Travis brought this up as well. So again, a few years ago, I did an interview on CDFIs, and we brought this up, but the strategy that we discussed was a little bit different. I'm going to drop this in the chat for everybody. But in our particular boot camp with Julian, what we discussed particularly was a strategy that my friend did in order to leverage $5,000 to get $50,000 worth of credit, right? And so we discussed that strategy in here. And ultimately, a lot of times, because again, we don't read requirements, right? I'll show you guys something. So again, because we don't even read the requirements and what is afforded to us opportunities as a small business. So when you're in the 8A program, right? If you just look at, you got qualifications, which is most of us look at how do I qualify, but we don't look at the benefits of the programs. So when you look at the actual benefits, right? And where was it at? All right, so here's program benefits. Most of us has actually never read the benefits for the certifications that we're in. And so I pointed that out in that boot camp. But one of the benefits here for the 8A was qualify to receive federal surplus property on a priority basis. And so in the boot camp, we discussed the strategy that my friend did. He leveraged surplus property to allow him to go out and get a equipment loan. And so he was able to take and buy like $50,000 worth of property and able to get a $100,000 loan because he bought surplus property at a discount. So we discussed that and how to do that in the boot camp and under Julian's content. So we went in and we started showing people essentially the CDFIs, where they're at, but then also we went through that exact strategy that he did and how CDFIs are actually actively looking for people to lend money to. Another thing that Travis mentioned when Travis came up and spoke was that he did not get traditional bank financing. His first financing came from like an economic development center. So when we're talking about, and then he went through the different stages of financing, right? So small banks, community credit unions, economic development centers. Then you have accounts receivable financing like Encore Funding, what we do, right? And then once you get to a certain level, then you can go out and get traditional bank financing. But there's different series of iterations that you go through in your financing lifetime as your company is in different stages, different capital needs, different size of the business. So that's what we went over there. And then so to close it out, and then Jolie, like I said, he brought up about the good contracts and the bad contracts. So, I mean, all in all, like I said, lots of content, lots of material to go through. For those of you who just joined us, who missed the replays, everything is inside of Federal Help Center, so it's all there now. So you can go back and catch the replays in there, inside Federal Help Center and all the lessons. But I did want to share with those of you who missed it, kind of give you some highlights of it. We'll be releasing some short clips on these things. But again, I just think it's important that all of us, right, start to better know our business, right? Start to better know the space and the industry. So coming up, we're going to have another boot camp. So all of my Alan, Tavin, Sylvia. So December 6th, we're having our next boot camp. Now that the government's back open, what now? And what I'd like to do on that next boot camp is I want to actually go through and do everything that we talked about, but using AI. So I'm looking forward to that next. So December 6th, for everyone out there, it's already in. I'll pull it up. You guys should already see it here. All right. That's Ryan's. All right, there you go. So December 6th, for everybody who's in the pro plan, we're having our next boot camp coming up, right? So what now? The government's back open again. What should we be doing now? So yes, Kamisha, looking forward to see you, Sylvia, Tavin, everybody like that. So again, I mean, I enjoy the format. I enjoy the style. And then again, just kind of like some programming for 2026. We do plan to have boot camps every single month, different boot camps. Kamisha, I already have you in mind. I'm going to do one on IT. Sylvia, I got you in mind. I'm going to do something on construction. So we're bringing construction speakers. We're bringing people on IT. And then we'll start doing something based on industries. But we plan on having one every single month. So excited for that. It was a good time, right? You know, we got to spend a day and a half together all day. But I will say I'm going to put some breaks in the middle. So I will be putting some breaks in the middle. So we may do like a lunch break, kind of like so that I can take some time to eat. But we can still have the computer to Zoom on. But yeah, good times. I enjoyed it. So again, IDIQs, absolutely, Tavin. I would love to talk about IDIQs. So, and I have a lot of people in my network that are speakers that want to come up and share their knowledge with us. So it's just, we have so many people in our network that want to come out and share their knowledge. And so we're very excited about that. The other thing is, since I've got everybody on here, I'm going to go ahead and do another plug. Have you guys already, okay, I'm going to drop this in there. Are you guys on the new Federal Help Center LinkedIn page? Please, okay, go on to our new Federal Help Center LinkedIn page. That will keep you up to date with everything that we're doing. And also, we'll be releasing a lot of content as well from the different boot camps and from different classes. Well, Sylvia, you should be on there. I tagged you in some posts already. Tavin, I got you tagged in some posts as well coming out down the pipeline. So follow our new Federal Help Center LinkedIn page. If you're not on LinkedIn, get on LinkedIn, get your profile up to date. It's really, I mean, it's the easiest way that you can essentially stand out from everybody else. It's the easiest way to make yourself known in the GovCon space. By the way, Tavin, did you get a chance to meet with Cecil when you were at the SAMI conference? Another thing, I bring all these people to everyone here. There's 39 of you guys watching. If you were not in the boot camp, I got a chance to bring everybody. Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate you. I brought these people here so that you guys could connect with them, right? So I'm bringing the speakers here so that everyone can connect with them and have their own relationships. I am not gatekeeping the relationships. So from you, if you're asking me, Eric, well, how do I see a lot of people, well, I want to connect with these people. I bring them here so you can meet them and have the chance to start to connect and build your own relationships. Right here, I see. So Alan said, hey, we're teaming up with Steph's company based on the boot camp as well. Lots of value. So the idea is that if we know that the name of the game is relationships, and I've spent a lot of time building these relationships, right? I'm trying to make them available to you. So I want to make sure that you guys have a pathway to make it a little bit easier, right? And one of the things I love what Travis says, if you're good at something, you should be yelling to the top of the roof. Like you should just yell and let everybody know. And so again, for me, that's what I do. Like I bug people. And because I don't feel guilty about it. Like I don't feel bad. One of the things here, I love this. Do you guys remember what Travis says you have to have an ask? Have an ask. Everybody who was on the boot camp, do you remember he said have an ask? Okay. For those of you that were not on the boot camp, one of the things Travis mentioned, again, this is a $185 million guy. When you go somewhere, have an ask. have an ask. Okay. So a lot of us, we just go and we show up and we do stuff and we don't ask for anything. So no one knows how to help us. And like you said, um, you're gonna get right 0% of what you don't ask for. You're gonna get 100% that like that. I mean, you're gonna get 100% of what you don't ask for. So, but if at least if you ask, there's a chance that you will receive. And again, I'm just seeing so many of you that are like on our channel watching content. You don't even have an ask from anyone. So please, 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 if I can leave you anything today, is right. Have an ask. Show up, right? Because things are changing, the market's changing, the climate's changing. The best thing that we can all do for ourselves is to know more people, higher quality people, people who have access to contracts. Even sometimes, and by the way, I thank you, those of you, and by the way, Kamisha, we should be talking more often. I want to put that out there. Um, you know, I think that, Tavin, we could be talking more often. I think a lot of you guys out here could definitely benefit from talking more often to me. And so I say this because, I was talking to someone today, and literally he called me out of the blue. This guy, Malik, you've seen him on my channel before. And I had something for him. And I was like, man, I'm glad you called me because I had something that escaped my mind. And so I'm also a human. And so if you're not on the top of my mind, I can't think about ways to serve or help or benefit you. So, for example, I'll give you an example, really quick example, Tavin. Like if Cecil didn't respond, I could have called him on my cell phone, right? And said, hey, Cecil, Tavin's trying to connect with you. Can you go? He's over blah, blah, blah by the bathroom. Like he's over in section AB. You get me? Like I could have made that happen like in an instant. So for me, I think that a lot of times that's what I would tell us that we got to do more of in 2026. Even myself, I don't exclude myself from anything. I have to improve as well. So I definitely want to say that. I think going into 2026, we need to be better at that, right? Because we can all improve. And like I said, it reminds me, I appreciate you guys for who do reach out because you trigger things in my brain. And so it reminded me like recently about, my biggest contract came as a subcontractor to a prime who I had built a relationship with, a few years prior. And it just basically changed my whole life. So it wasn't a prime contract. I didn't have to have bonding. I didn't have to have actually even past performance doing that specific type of work. But they knew that I knew how to do government contracts. They knew I knew how to manage paperwork. And so because of that, they gave me the opportunity. So, I say that because I'm talking to so many people all the time. And I know that some of you out here, there's a way that we can connect the dots. And that's why Olga reaches out to me. She's like, hey, Eric, I got this client. I don't, what can we do with her? And I'm like, so I was like, look, tell her to come to Columbia. I'm serious. I was like, come here. I've got some people here that that are connected, that they're doing big business. I'm here. Brandon's here. You're going to be here. And then we can have a brainstorming session. We can go get a finca, which is like a house in the countryside, and basically have a nice, like all day session discussing opportunities and how we think it works. So, like that's the kind of stuff that I like to do. So so for those of you who don't know fincas, these are like what fincas are called. So when we say finca, so this is what we picture. So they're basically housed in the country. A lot of times they're sitting up on a hill. But again, to me, that's how you clear your mind. Like this is how you clear your mind. So, I don't want to clear my mind, in a busy stream down in Miami full of traffic, and you can't get any place or restaurant because it's an accident or people trying to cut you off. That's not freeing for me. But being in a natural countryside during the holiday season where it's a lot of downtime anyways, to me, that's much more freeing. So again, going back to the relationships and the people that you choose to work with. So, all right. But listen, I mean, that's all I got for everyone tonight. Again, follow us on LinkedIn. If you missed the last boot camp, if you were in the pro plan, it was there. If you didn't sign up, okay, the next boot camp's coming up. The pro plan, I'll just again pop it up on the screen for those of you who are not in it. I just dropped the link there. And as always, if you have any questions, call me. Our number, I'll just put it back up here. There's our numbers. There's our email. So if you got any questions, you want to talk to anybody, there you go. That's the information. All right. Other than that, have a good night. Thanks, guys.